really loved your book. Have it right here in front of me. It's so cute. Do you mind first sharing a little bit about what drew you to becoming a writer?
I'd always wanted to write a children's book about dementia. It'd always been in the back of my mind because my grandma had dementia, and I just didn't always understand it growing up. And I wanted to try to help children and young people to understand dementia and its impact on the individual, its impact on the family, and to try and take away some of the worries that sometimes I had about my grandma or my mum, who was their carer as well. Um, so that's why I wanted to do it. And last year, obviously when COVID hit, and my non-profit organisation, we deliver disability awareness training in schools and community groups and businesses. So when that schools work stopped, I wanted to try and find a way to reach children and young people still. And I just thought, well, now's a better time than ever.
Can you tell me a little more about your personal connection to dementia and what that was like for you having your grandmother have dementia?
My grandma and I were extremely close, always been super, super close. Always growing up, I spent a lot of time at my grandma's, and we used to have the best time. So my sister and I would go there, and we'd just make a mess. Like we just bake cakes and stuff and everything, and just had the best time. So we always had the best memories, and I guess those times where we noticed that sometimes grandma would do some things differently or forget things, and I knew that my mum was caring for her as well, so I knew she was safe and she was okay. But I also knew that there wasn't something quite right, and my mum wouldn't always tell me because she wanted to try and shield us from that. And this is why I wanted to do the book, because I believe passionately that children should be involved in not necessarily all aspects of care, but at least being aware of why care is being provided and what that means for family members. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I wrote the book.
Did you have much of a research process for understanding dementia more, or was it primarily based on your own experience?
Yeah, so primarily based on our experiences with my grandma, but also I spoke to different people living with dementia, different families, or care workers as well, to try and get those different aspects. Because this book and all the books that I've written are all inspired by people with lived experience and all informed by people with lived experience. And I'm super, super passionate about giving people a platform when they have that lived experience to share their story, and that's where this came in.
One thing I noticed I loved about your book is that you have that scene at the doctor's office where they're explaining like kind of the medical background of what dementia is. I think that's a really cool part for kids.
Yeah, I really like that scene too. There's a couple of things about it, but I'm just looking at it now. But I guess we wanted to try and teach children. Again, it's all about starting the conversation. And for me, this gave us the opportunity to say, look, like really easily, you could see, how dementia maybe affects someone. And we made that really obvious and sort of how it's caused. And then also I really like how we got some of the different forms of dementia on there too, just to start those conversations, because a lot of the time, children, young people and adults wouldn't understand that Alzheimer's and dementia aren't the same thing. Dementia, Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, and there's many other forms, and that is a really easy way of getting that across to children. And likewise, in one of the scenes there with the doctor, she's got a medicine box, and my grandma, when I was growing up, had all these medicine boxes, and I never really understood why. And then they're always dated, and I always talk to children about why that might be, and it helps them to understand that better. And then also the fact that medication isn't just like the one thing that helps. It might help some people, it might help to slow down the impact of dementia, but I always say that the biggest thing that anyone can do is involve someone living with dementia in activities and keep the brain active as much as possible. That's probably the biggest thing we ever learned with my grandma.
Yeah, such a great point, and such a great way to involve children in that piece too, and just taking away some of that fear or some of those emotional challenges that might go with that. I think like having this book is such a huge part of that. Can you tell me, I guess, a bit about like the reception to the book and how that's been and how it's been received?
Yeah, the reception has been overwhelming, to be honest. it started as something that was very much a small project that
Mhm.
was very personal to me and our family, and it's it grew quite quickly, and people were buying it from Australia and New Zealand and across the states, and it won a Dementia Hero Award this year with the Alzheimer's Society, which is huge, because I still can't believe it won that. Like, I was there, sat there, and I was like, just didn't know what to say, because the other people in the categories and being recognised doing amazing work. But yeah, I mean, some of the best feedback probably that always sticks out is there's a local mum who got in touch and said she really struggles to explain dementia to her 4-year-old son, whose granddad has early onset dementia, so it's her dad. And she said, I don't know how to explain it. And she said, but this book helped us to do that straight away. And we sat it and read it together. She said we cried. And then she said we just read it every day since, and it's his favorite book. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow, that's really incredible. You had such a wide touch and this really personal local touch. And that's actually what I was thinking of before too, was that, this is such a difficult topic for even adults to grapple with, and let alone to have to share this if they're coping with this with a parent or a spouse, but then also to have to talk with their kids about it, and to have such a great tool that can, make that just a little bit easier. Imagine what a relief that must be, especially for this woman too, to take something that's already hard and make it just a little bit easier.
Definitely, yeah. It's just about that soft introduction. It's trying to make it as positive but also realistic and supportive as
Mhm.
possible. And that's what I've tried to aim to do with every single book.
Can you share anything about the illustrations too? I noticed they're, fun, they're like upbeat, they're, brightly colored.
Yeah.
Any like intent with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess when I write the books, sort of sit down and think of some images that I'd like to associate with each
Mhm.
page or pages, each spread, and then I speak to Adam, who's the illustrator. His name's Adam Walker Parker, and he's an amazing illustrator. And he does these super bright, colourful illustrations, which I sort of thought would help to just introduce children to some difficult topics,
Mhm.
without it looking all sort of negative or scary or anything like that. Just try to take away that fear factor a little bit. And the biggest thing, or the best thing that excites me about the illustrations is, I speak to Adam, and we talk about how we can make them as inclusive and diverse as possible, and have lots of different characters. So each book, like, we try to make sure, we've got lots of different people from all sorts of backgrounds in them, regardless of race or ability or gender. Just a real mix of lots of different people, so that children don't just see like a white male doctor, or
Mhm.
do you know what I mean? Just the
Yes.
same stereotypical characters. So,
Yeah.
or sometimes it's like parents. We've got like same-sex parents in there, and a gender-neutral character in the most recent one, but in real
Mhm.
subtle ways. Not like it's super obvious. It's just, again, trying to normalize some of these social challenges.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm sure that helps just to feel relatable and make that this can happen to anybody too, and that is okay, and to help with that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about your book, or about the process, your experience with this?
I really enjoyed writing the book. I wrote the book before, well, almost this time last year. So it was a long process. And during that process, my grandma passed away just before Christmas. Not with COVID or anything, but, and I think it sort of helped working on the book. We were working on the illustrations and stuff like that. And, for anyone that gets a copy of the book, they can see that, like, the character is very much based on my grandma, and she's there at the back of the book, like the real picture of her. And,
Love this.
Adam did a great job of that. And yeah, it was quite nice, sort of, being able to go through that process with the book. It quite helped, the grieving process almost as well, um, which was quite different. But it's really cool because my grandma has that legacy, like I say, forever in the book. And Adam's used the character of my grandma in this book, in some of the other books too, in the background and stuff, which is always really cool. So yeah, really enjoyed that. And yeah, I should, like I say, it's led to other books, which is really exciting. So I've since written a book on depression, cancer, Tourette's, and the next book is on cerebral palsy, which comes out in the next week or two. And they're all inspired and informed by people who I know, either in my family or elsewhere. So just again, trying to start those conversations about those other conditions too.
Congrats on all that work. That's awesome. So you've been quite busy this past year. That's awesome.
Yeah, this past 6 months has been busy, and my wife and I moved into a new home, and we've had a baby girl, so she's 4 months old. So
Wow.
it's been very busy. Yeah. So,
congrats. Wow. On top of everything else. That's amazing.
So yeah, but you know, all of the books have some sort of personal touch. All of the books as well. Each book that's sold on Amazon, they're all on Amazon worldwide, and every book that's sold helps to fund the non-profit work that my organisation does as well. So you know, the more that are bought, the merrier. And if people see them and read them, please, you know, leave a review. It helps. If you like it, or get in touch, tell me what you think. And people can find me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Or if they want to see the work of what my non-profit organisation does, it's www.happysmilestraining.co.uk.
Happy Smiles. Yeah. And I'm sorry, do you want to share a little bit more too about what your nonprofit does?
Yeah, my background's in teaching, and I was a carer as well for young disabled adults. And a couple of years ago, I left my teaching job, and alongside one of the young men who I cared for, we set up Happy Smiles Training. At the time, it was a blog, so it was called Happy Smiles Blog. We started to do blogs about young disabled adults, about their stories and things like that, and what they like to do to try and normalise disability. And it grew from there. And Hayden and I started to deliver training in my local school that I taught in, and other schools and places. And it just grew and grew. And then I left my job just over 2 years ago. And we got a team of people together, all disabled young adults, and we delivered training to just over 3,500 people now in schools or groups or businesses on lots of different topics. And yeah, we've just been recognised as well by the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, which is pretty cool, as a finalist in an award category there. So, which is amazing as well. So yeah, really passionate about that. And it's yeah, like I say, the books support that, and we use the books within our sessions now, which is really cool.
Well, that is so incredible. I'm so amazed by all you do to include people too, and using this as a platform to share their stories. Also, I think that's something I also am passionate about, and I just have so much respect for that. So, you know, congrats on everything you've done this year. I so also appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.